It is always an excuse's fault. It's not the limitations of the roster, of course. That's not what's going on here. Not at all. Mic check, Kyle.
Check, check.
All right. You good? You are good. Okay. Let's get to it. Presented by Under Armour and Prize Picks, 100% $100 match deposit on your first deposit with the promo code LightYears. Welcome to LightYears. Sitting in for Andy Liu today, I got my guy, Kyle Madsen. I thought we'd mix it up, see if we could get some, change the vibes, get a better results. Did not work.
No, not at all. And my Prize Picks didn't even turn out well either.
No. I did hit on Friday night with Steph and Caitlin Clark, but, like the Warriors, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, lose one, lose one. That's where we're at. What? I want to start with a little bit of an overarching thought here. The Warriors will lose 114-110 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota is currently the 3 seed. They're kind of in a battle for that top seed, even though they're dealing with injuries to Karl-Anthony Towns and just other issues across their roster. I can't be upset with the Warriors' effort. I thought, unlike Friday night against Indiana, they played really hard for the most part, but stars too old, young guys just not quite smart or skilled enough, roster generally devoid of shooting and also too small. Every limitation showed itself. It's 36-34. They are what their record is. They're a 500 team, man.
That's it, dude. Tonight was Minnesota is better than them. I guess it's just kind of what it was. I mean, the Warriors don't stink. They're not terrible. But like you said, they're about a 500 team. And when you're 500, you're going to battle for the back end of the play-in tournament. That's what it is. I wish there was more to it than that. It's just kind of when you're relying this heavily on Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green and Brandon Pajemski, like it's just not 39-year-old Chris Paul or whatever he is. Like it's just not conducive to hanging with teams like Minnesota that are young, athletic.
And the end of the game was perfect. They were in a single possession game. They couldn't get stops because they were just a little too small at every position. You see GP2 contesting Jaden McDaniels. You live with Jaden McDaniels getting that mid-range shot, but if he's got a 7 or 8 inch advantage, he's probably got a decent shot at hitting it more so than, if you put someone who's 6'7" on him. If you get someone who's his own size on him, he's probably missing it because he's not really that great a shooter. And on the offensive end, the last few possessions, what were they doing, man? It was just passing circles to find Steph and Clay. That's it. They have nothing else going for them. And those guys are too old to play that type of offense. Like, not even focusing on any single play. It's like Chris Paul, Draymond Green, GP2, Wiggins, whichever one's out there. They're just passing in circles, trying to get Steph or Clay a hero ball shot, and one maybe they're capable of making, but they're a little older now. It's a little slower. Just is what it is.
And everybody knows it's coming.
Yeah.
Like teams are defending them because they would prefer it's Wiggins or CP3 or Draymond taking shots or going to the rim or doing whatever. That's the everybody run around in circles and run through screens and okay, let's get Steph open, but not really because they've got 2 guys on him. It just doesn't, it's not conducive to winning games down the stretch. And what happens is you've got end of shot clock heaves and GP2 contested layups, which he needs to hit, but whatever. It's just not, it's not good basketball. I can't imagine that Steve Kerr watches that and goes like, yeah, that's what the offense is supposed to be.
It's a talent thing. Most expensive roster of all time, and I feel like they have just a complete devoid of talent. Like they don't have enough talent in general across the roster.
Who's their second best player?
I don't know. I mean, their second best overall player is Draymond, but who's their second? It might be Chris Paul, actually. Aaron in the chat is not wrong in saying it might be Chris Paul, but that kind of speaks to it.
Right. That's the problem.
They definitely don't have a second scorer. That's for sure.
Like Jonathan Kuminga's had a nice little leap this year, but that's not on a team that is if you're viewing this through the lens, I don't know what what lens do you view this team through? It's as a championship contender, right?
Yeah,
Like
this isn't
that's kind of
this isn't a rebuild. This has nothing to do with like, oh, Kuminga's getting a bunch better. It's Steph Curry. You're in the luxury tax. Your goal is to contend. It's not
right.
to, have a good time and hope that Kuminga gets there in 2026.
Right. And that's exactly my point. Is Jonathan Kuminga taking a leap is great. It probably should have happened a year or two ago, but it's fine. It's happening now. But it's not enough. It's not enough. It's okay, this is helpful, but it's not definitively saying, oh, Jonathan Kuminga is the number 2 guy. There's a reason he wasn't on the court at the end of the game tonight. Yeah. Like they still don't trust him in those spots. And if he had actually taken a significant leap where it's like, yeah, he's the number 2 guy, then he would have been on the court.
And I'm seeing the chat bring up, this is kind of a microcosm for all the Warriors issues on top of it. Steph only played 30 minutes. And Steve was slow to bring him in the fourth. And the Wolves lead ballooned from 4 to 8. And that might have been the game there. That really might have been the game. At the same time, how many games have they lost this year? Because Steve puts Steph out there earlier and he just looks 36 at the end of it. So it's like kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you do not have enough around Steph Curry. You put Steph out there longer, he's going to fall apart. I mean, he's on pace for the most minutes he's played since 2016. What is it? Like, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely insane that he's playing as many minutes as he has. And at the same time, they don't have a choice. Where's the second scoring coming from? Clay has, it's been nice to see him settle into this 6-man bench role, but that's exactly who he is. He's one of the guys. He's not, splash brother all-star guy. He's just another guy on the team at this point.
It feels like they're an entire team of just another guy on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and this is why, not to drag this back to conversations last year, but this is why last year was so maddening when it came to not playing the young guys.
Sure.
Because that would have been really helpful if the leap Jonathan Kuminga made this year, he made last year. And now this year he's taking another step forward. Like now he can be helpful this year in a tangible, credible way, night in and night out. Same thing with Moses Moody. Same thing with, pick whoever.
Again. Yeah. Or
who can't get on the floor.
Or let me take it the other way. Instead of not playing them last year and us having this constant dynamic of why won't Kerr play them, we get a better look at where they truly are so adult decisions can be made about where this team is.
Yes.
Because that's the other part of it. I like Jonathan Kuminga. I don't want to trade him by any means. But if you're looking at this team with everything you've seen this year, Kuminga taking a step next year is not enough to make them, I don't want to say contender, out of the plan, period. Like out of the plan. Yeah. They need an external player plus the organic growth that you're going to get from Kuminga to offset Steph being another year older. And, and that's ignoring the fact that they don't have a center. They're still kind of small. Like there's a lot of things that need to happen right now that I'm looking at it. And I don't know. They played hard tonight. I thought they played smarter than they normally play. They didn't have enough talent. They legitimately don't have enough talent on the roster.
Also, the Timberwolves shot the brakes off.
And why did they shoot? And why did they shoot that well? I mean,
because everything was wide open.
And why is everything wide open?
Because the Warriors are not athletic enough.
Yeah. They're like, it's like a combo of either not smart enough or not athletic enough. Their smart guys are not athletic enough, and their athletic guys are not smart enough. It would be nice if you could put Chris Paul's brain inside Wiggins or Jonathan Kuminga, because then they would have the requisite combination of size and athleticism. But that's not what it is. You're either putting Chris Paul and Podziemski out there next to Steph, by the way, and Draymond, and you're micro-sized and slow.
Sure.
Or you're putting your more athletic guys out there and they're missing rotations, and all this is, they're wide open for a reason. Every defensive scheme this team plays is kind of gimmicky. Everything they do is like sag off of a guy who can't shoot and dare him. Why do you do that?
Mhm.
Because you're not athletic or quick enough to actually contest and recover. And I don't know, man. It all ties to the same thing. It's not one or the other. It's just a little bit of all.
Yeah, the bar. It's like they're still trying to build a team to supplement prime Steph, Clay, and Draymond.
Yes.
And the bar for the veteran play they used to need was down here, right? It's like, hey, know what passes to make, know where to be on defense, knock down an open three, and you're in. Like Dario Saric would have been great on the 2017 Warriors.
Correct.
But
I mean, they had Jonas Jerebko playing in the finals, and I think Dario's
same guy.
Than him.
Same guy. No, but that's just it. Is like Jonas Jerebko used to be like, yeah, get him in there, and he can play 18 minutes. Nemanja Bjelica in the finals, sure, like go for it. But it's they're past that now, and it's like they're still trying to build a team for that, and it's not going to work anymore. And I respect the commitment to Steph, Clay, and Draymond. And saying like, hey, we're going to ride this trio until the wheels fall off. Steve Kerr this year in press conferences is talking about, well, we won a title with this group 2 years ago. Like, yeah, but every year at this age, 2 years is like 10. And I respect that commitment, but like we saw it last year. The wheels came off in the second round. It didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like they jumped to this year and it's like, yeah, hey, how about Chris Paul? Let's just throw that in. Like, no, it's not. That's not enough. There, like you said, there needs to be, what do you call them, grown-up decisions?
Yeah.
Like that needs to happen.
Right.
And whatever direction they want to go, they either have to get better pieces to supplement that trio or start something different.
Or a combination, honestly. It really is a combination. You know, Steph, I think, played a pretty good game tonight.
I thought it was really good.
He's still highly capable. He's probably the best player on the floor. But there is a difference between this Steph and 2016 Steph, you know, and maybe so. Yeah. And, you know, I keep coming back to this, you know, who's, like you said, who's their second best player?
I've asked this. I think I've asked that on this podcast before.
Every time. Yeah.
And I do, if you don't know, I do radio in Sacramento. And so when the Warriors come up, the view of Golden State in Sacramento is obviously a little bit skewed. But the people I know up there who are Kings fans and more objective are like, well, Clay can still play and Steph can still play and this and that. And it's like, man, so I always ask, who's their second best player then? And every time it's Wiggins, I guess. It's like, right. That's an issue, man.
It is.
I don't know.
It is. In some ways, it feels like they're chasing 2022 Wiggins, and I don't think that's ever coming back. I think that was a one-time aberration. Good that it happened, but, you know, this is more in line with who he's been his entire career. Some games are good, some games are bad. There's not a lot of consistency there.
Yeah, man. And they had to, I mean, you can go back and relitigate should they have paid him or not, but based on how he looked in that playoffs and specifically in the finals, I thought it was the right move. It's like, oh, hey, he turned a corner, he figured it out, he saw the light, and now he's going to become. And like you said, it turns out that was the anomaly.
Yeah, yeah. This is more in line with what we've seen his whole career, which is like talented, enigmatic. Some nights he looks like he could be an all-star. A lot of nights he looks just kind of like he's stuck in neutral, you know, second gear, whatever you want to call it, where you're just like, all right, he's not terrible, but he's not particularly effective either, you know.
And then there's a super frustrating real quick nights like tonight where he looks like an all-star for 8 minutes and you're like, oh man, here comes a 30-point Andrew Wiggins game, and then he disappears for the other 30 that he's on the floor.
Yeah. And some of the chats like, would you trade Wiggins for DeAndre Hunter? And I'm sitting here and I'm going, sure, maybe not, but it doesn't really address the Warriors' issues, you know? Like, it's like, okay, you got a role player who's slightly more consistent. It doesn't address your second. Like, there's multiple moves that need to be made if we're being realistic about this team. If this team wants to get out of just being middle of the road, which is kind of what they're sitting on right now. So
you need realistically to be a championship contender. You need what, minimum 2 All-Stars or 2 All-Star caliber players.
And you assume Steph is one.
Like, right, Steph is one for sure.
So yeah,
but
and there's not one on the roster, so it has to come external.
Close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And think what you will about Jonathan Kuminga's ceiling. Maybe you're super high on him. You're going, man, he's an all NBA guy. He's an all-star in the making. Yeah. In like years.
Is it happening next year?
Right. That's the, and the longer we go into this, the further we go along, and we get to Steph Curry being 37 and we get to Steph Curry being 38, the bar of the player that needs to be next to him climbs.
It's in some ways like the issue that the Lakers are dealing with LeBron. You watch LeBron on any given night, he still looks like LeBron, but he's also not 2016 Cavs LeBron by any means. And so that team goes with Anthony Davis's motor. The nights he plays up to it, they look unbeatable. And then there's a lot of nights where, it's similar to the Wiggins thing, except, AD's obviously a significantly better player, but it's just like,
sure,
that's kind of where they're at too. And I don't know. I'm ready to get to the offseason. That's where I'm at. I can't wait. Before we do that, I want to talk about Steph Curry makes you believe you can do anything. And the Curry 11s are specifically designed with the ultimate bounce, grip, and stability to allow everyone to do their thing. New generations of ball players are coming up and showing the basketball world the old rules do not apply. The future is exciting, fast, positive, and hungry. This NBA season, rock your favorite player and rep his shoes on and off the court. Steph's 11th signature shoe steps into the second decade of his sneaker career, pulling colorway inspirations from the wonders of a positive and modernized future on and off the court. Take these kicks with you when you leave the scrimmage and rep UA wherever you go. Do your thing, change the game. Curry 11 Future Curries are available now at currybrand.com. One more, and I got a question for you that I'm actually quite curious on. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100x your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000 with NBA, NHL, and obviously college basketball entries today on PrizePick, America's #1 fantasy sports app.
Love PrizePicks.
Yeah, gotta love it. Download the app today, guys, and use the promo code LightYears on your first deposit. Match up to $100. That means you put $100 in there. PrizePicks can be like, you know what? Here's another $100. Just take it right there. Once again, guys, remember, promo code LightYears. Download the app, PrizePicks. All right. Well, I don't know if you knew, Kyle, but with that loss tonight, the Warriors are officially 1 game up on the Houston Rockets and in danger of falling out of the play-in. Yeah, life is fun. Is life not fun right now?
Hey, can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Would anyone be mad if they missed the play-in? Like, I know it'd be a bad look and there'd be jokes and stuff, but is that better or worse than losing to the Lakers in the play-in?
I mean, it crosses my mind every day, which is like, hey man, if you're going to fizzle out so spectacularly that management has no choice. Like they can't pull we need we need to add an Andre Drummond to add another big and that'll seal, you know what I'm saying? Like we just someone who can rebound the ball and protect the rim a little bit and everything will be fine,
Right. Yeah, the worst thing that could happen is they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they could talk themselves into it for another year.
Oh, indeed. And, that's where we're at with this team, right? Like, I don't know. If you asked me a week ago, I'd be like, no, they have to make the plan. I can't entertain the possibility. And every day I'm watching them, I'm like, man, it might be better for everyone if they fizzle out. It really might. It might force those conversations with Steph and management. It might force the decisions that need to be made because there's a lot of conversation that they want to rebuild. I don't know if they really want to rebuild right now. If they wanted to rebuild, Steve Kerr would not have got that fat 2-year extension. I just keep going back to that. There is a commitment to put a team around Steph for the next 2 years. I also think as much as they sell Jonathan Kuminga as the future, and he may very well be the future, he's not Wembanyama, man. He's not.
No, he's better.
I mean, it's like you watch him, you're like, this is an exciting player who I think can be very good. He's not this isn't okay, we drafted Andrew Luck. We know he's a dude. Right. Peyton, I know you're our guy, but we got to move on because he is the chosen one. This is more of we like him. And by the way, like he can coexist with other players. This isn't a quarterback situation, but like it's they don't have an obvious future to where they can just say punt it and let this guy take over.
No, I'm with you, man. I don't know. I just to real quick go back to the play-in, miss the play-in, make the play-in thing. I do think it would be best. Like there's the irrational part of me that's like, no, I want to watch Steph Curry play as many basketball games as possible. We don't have that many left, so I want to see all of them. But then on the other hand, you watch Steph this year and you're like, man, he can still be a one on a title team. And I think that's where missing the play-in gets to the point where you do make dramatic changes. And I don't think you're going to see Lacob and co like pull the plug entirely and say, okay, screw it, blow it all up. We're going to tank and, start redrafting. I don't think it's anything like that, but they have to look dramatically different. I mean, that was the case last year.
Yeah.
And it didn't do enough. And it's certainly the case again this year. And it would suck to not see them get a shot in the play-in and whatnot. I'd like to see them go to the playoffs, but I think long-term, the best thing they could do is just bottom out entirely here. And that sucks to say because
you're saying for this season, you're not saying bottom out over the course.
Yeah. For 2023-24, and then try again next year with a roster that looks dramatically different than this one. Because whatever this roster is, isn't it? Regardless of what you think of Jonathan Kuminga or what you think of Moses Moody or Klay Thompson or Draymond Green or whoever, this iteration of the roster is just not the move. And
it's not getting prettier. You got the Heat on Tuesday, the Orlando Magic on Wednesday.
Brutal.
And the Charlotte Hornets on Friday. I mean,
they're losing one of the two to Charlotte and San Antonio.
I was going to say Miami, Orlando, you're just praying for a split.
Yes.
Both of those are good home teams who are playing good basketball, and they match up well with the Warriors.
Yes.
Not loving either one of those. And then in theory, you win in Charlotte and San Antonio, but you definitely can't count on this team. Like they need a 3-1 trip, or I guess it'd be a 3-2 trip, but it's not looking good. And then they got Houston at the end of it. It's all a mess, man.
Boy. They're definitely going to be behind Houston by the time they play Houston, right?
I'm thinking they'll be tied. But yeah, it's bad. I say we get to some goons. So we take some calls real quick. But before we take some calls, I got to tell you about Unified, guys. Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery and top-notch performance. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Emergency Enhancement System, or EES system. If you haven't heard of the EES system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, rejuvenation. Whether you're here in the Bay Area or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to the center is easy and affordable. Interest in experiencing the ESS system technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing/Lightyears to learn more and find a center near you. The unified system, guys. The Warriors might need the unified system for what I can tell. Warriors need prize picks. The entire team needs the Curry 11s. Can't just be Steph. And you know what? A little like mental and physical well-being, it doesn't do anything. It can't hurt anyone, right? Anyway.
Maybe that's Wiggins' problem. Maybe his chakras are misaligned, and we can get that fixed.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
All right, we got a special caller coming in first. It's been a minute since I've heard from Aaron.
Oh, there he is.
Mr. Aaron Lau. How you doing?
My man.
Hold on. Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
We can hear it for sure.
Excuse my hiatus. I had the flu recently. That shit was crazy. But this is nuts, man. What a year. I'm glad to be back. I wish we had, I actually took like a sports hiatus after the Super Bowl. I was just so over it.
Smart.
But I'm back, and now, in typical Bay Area sports form, there's another team that's going to let me down. This team's letting me down, but I've already prepared myself for the inevitability of the Giant season, where it's another 500 team that I'm going to have to watch. So,
but a 500 team with some interesting names.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Giants are going to be okay this year. They're going to be able to get people out, and they'll hit enough. I think.
They got the LED lights. They're definitely going for the rave crowd this year.
Oh,
they're staying in San Francisco. It's a plus.
Oh man, it's good. I think we'll have some cool summer nights at AT&T Park. But yeah, man, I don't know about this. I just don't want the Dubs to make the playoffs at this point. It's just not worth my time. It's not worth your time. And I love the part of the year when we can all just talk about in the chat right now. Everyone is the GM. They're like, we should do this for Laurie. We should do this for da-da-da-da. I love this part of the season. I would rather do this all day.
It's better than talking about these games. Let's be honest. I'd rather you bring up a good point. The sooner they get eliminated, the sooner we can pivot to free agency previews, fake
Summer
trade
league.
machines,
Summer league.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine? What the four?
What if Pods develops a floater, guys? What if it happens?
Can you imagine the Chris Brickley and Pods content this summer? Chris Brickley, golly, they're gonna have him. Oh,
will every Pajemski IG sizzle reel have Jack Harlow behind it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, it's gonna be. Oh my god, he braided his hair. Woo! We're back, baby. We're back.
The four podcasts after the Warriors lose 4 games to the Nuggets in the first round would be so depressing. Those would be so tough to get through.
It'll
get it. Like I just can't get myself to get angry on here and be like, why didn't Steve Kerr make Chris Paul 6'8"? What's wrong with him?
It's crazy. We just rolled there, same shit every game. It's like at halftime, we're like, we're gonna blow this by like 4-10.
Oh, is that where your head's at? I'm lying to myself every game. I'm like texting Kyle or Andy most nights at halftime, being like, they look better. I'm feeling it. They look like they're turning a corner, and then the corner's turned right back to the same corner we were on before.
We're all victims, man. And the worst part about it is, you guys have a job to do. Like, I get that. But, like, man, I be following the other Hoop podcasts and what's it, Timpf? What's his name? The guy.
Yeah, Jason Timpf.
That guy is fucking serious because, like, on YouTube, he'll have, like, 20-minute segments about why the Warriors are for real instead of talking about how good Denver is. He's hilarious, bro. It's like, dude.
Guy. I rock with him.
Joe Lacob is giving you the bag to talk about this 10th place team. Oh my god! Like, you are the man, bro. You are like the good version of Bill Simmons.
Shout out Jason, good dude. He's gonna be back on the show.
I love that guy. He's doing God's work. Like, just making YouTube videos of why we're so dangerous. But hey, man, this is the summer of LeBron.
Dangerous for our health.
Hey, man, come on.
Yeah.
How you guys doing? How you guys holding up?
Great.
You know.
You know what sucks? Do you know what sucks about this? Is I sit here
Everything.
on this podcast and texting Sam or my friends who are Warriors fans or whatever, and it's like, I'd rather this team miss the play and than make it da-da-da. But I'm going to be right back here at 4:00 for when they play the Heat, and I'm be like, well, maybe they'll start stringing them together. Maybe maybe they'll figure it out.
Pods will open the game with a step
man.
back and be like, "Oh, that's new. That looks good."
Dude, I am a clown, dude. They've got me.
I'm like psychic at this point. I think that the back-breaking loss of this season is going to be the back-to-back against Orlando when it's like a 35-point game at half after we played the Heat in South Beach. That's going to be the nail in the coffin. That's the night the Rockets tie for us for the 10th, and that's when we could just kiss and goodbye. That's the night. Book it.
Mm.
Hey, you better call in that night. We're waiting for you.
Oh no, trust me. I've already had it. I've had it circled. Fitz was talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, we're fucked. The Magic. Paolo Banchero 60 burger. Watch this. Oh, what a season. I love it though. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Appreciate you, man.
Anytime. See you Wednesday.
Cole Anthony's definitely going like 6 of 8 from 3.
That's a funny part. Orlando's big. You're like, oh, how are they going to handle Paulo, Franz, Wendell Carter, and who are they? Who's going to cook him?
Jonathan
5'11" Cole Anthony, right?
Dude, they can't. They have nothing for Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs. Just nothing. Jonathan Isaac's a good player, by the way.
He is. He looks healthy. Defensively, he's everything they need, which is a wing who's actually big and can actually defend. But, there's a lot of players out there who would help this team. That's what happens when your team is very average. The volume of players who can help your team starts getting larger and larger.
Yep. Sad.
You know who doesn't say that? The Denver Nuggets. Not a lot of things they need. They're like, we could use maybe a backup point guard. That'd be nice. Like,
they watch the Raptors and see Jalen McDaniels fucking around out there, and they're like, we could use that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Develop that guy. 13 man.
Exactly. All right, let's keep moving. Also, we got some
What do we got?
We got some Draymond quotes coming in too.
Yeah.
All right, Abdullah, what's up, man?
Hey, man. So
how you doing?
I'm good. This game, at least they lost at a reasonable hour on the East Coast, so trying to stay positive.
we look for the positives, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with the last guy. Like, I am basically in that mindset of like, how are they going to blow this lead? Like, I think like that's one of my first thoughts is like, oh my God, like losing close games. Like, I can't tell sometimes how much of it is on the players and how much of it is like the coaching staff just not being able to like scheme up stuff at the very end for us to be able to pull out these like close games. I can't really tell who's it more on. But like I wanted to talk about Kuminga because I'm a big Kuminga guy, but tonight I felt like he was the reason why we lost the game more than if I had to like pinpoint one person, like because I could think of like 5 or 6 plays on defense where usually we overhelp like crazy and leave shooters open. He wasn't even overhelping. He was just standing under screens, not fighting through. And it's like, it wasn't like, oh, he's guarding Ja and he's like playing off because he's worried he's going to get burned. It's like Mike Conley, who's like 37, and he's like going under the screen, even though he could fight through and make sure that he's in front of him. Nas Reed is like half-assed closeouts over and over and over again. And it's just like making me think when you guys are talking about like making big moves, like if they have to make a big move, like, does it make sense to include Kuminga to get something reasonable back and hold on to somebody like Pods who could be like a role player around a bunch of vets? Because like, I remember watching really closely those like 2 or 3 games where Steph was hurt. And I was like, what does he look like without Steph's gravity? And I felt like there were stretches in those games where he like really struggled. And so I feel like he's getting better. His mid-range is getting better. But like, I'm also thinking about the fact that like, as he gets better, Steph is declining. And what is he going to look like without Steph? Like, and his gravity. And I kind of just think it's like best case scenario, like low end all-star. And I think I've been like lying to myself that it might be more than that. And so thinking about that, I'm just kind of like, I feel like for the right move, I'd be willing to pull the trigger.
I agree with you. The player I think he's going to end up being like best case, and I don't mean stylistically, but impact wise, is someone like Pascal Siakam, who's very, to your point, can make an all-star team, damn good player, help you win. He's not Kawhi Leonard, he's not Kevin Durant, and if you think about it, earlier in Siakam's career, he was a vital part of that 2019 Raptors team. He was 24 years old then. He might have been 25. But what was he? He was the third or fourth best player on that title team, right? It was Kawhi was obviously the man. Kyle Lowry was clearly the second best player. They had a bunch of great veterans, the Marcus Alls, Serge Ibaka, and Danny Green, although fuck Danny Green. Anyway, that's a different conversation. But then and then he was kind of like that third option. Just when you think you have him figured out, Spicy P is going to hit you with the spin move and cook you a little bit, which is great. And I think if they want to contend next year, that's probably the role he's in, which is to say they need to get someone who's clearly better than him, who can match Steph on some level, who can be like that 1B to 1A. And then Kuminga can be that okay, we finally have Steph and, insert X guy figured out. And then Kuminga's coming through and killing us type of guy, right? I think that's how you got to do. And if he develops into more than that over time, it's great. But don't put all your eggs in that basket for next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's somewhere around a third or really great fourth best player on a title team. He's somewhere in my mind between his ceiling is between Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, where it's this guy can be really good in spurts, but you can't count on him to carry you or be a number 2 on a title winning team.
But the bread and butter of the team is Jokic and Murray, which is your point. Yeah. No, yeah. I think that's it's a really good call out. And it comes back to what Kyle was saying, which is, what's your goal? Is your goal to contend, or is your goal to just kind of kick the can down the road? Because your goal is to contend. This is the conversation we got to have. If your goal is to see what he can be in 3 years, then sure, we'll keep doing this until something happens.
Do you think Lacob loves Kuminga that much that they'll turn down legitimate trade offers for him over the summer? No.
I want to. Can I real quick jump in here? I want to ask what people think Jonathan Kuminga's ceiling is. Because I agree here that trading him is probably going to be a necessity if they're going to add the pieces they need to add around Steph to contend over the next year or two, because he is by far their best and most valuable trade chip. But what's the ceiling here? Is it one on a title team where you think he can usher in the next era of Warriors basketball? Or is it just what'd you say, fourth best player on a title team? Because if that's the case, then yeah, I'm punting.
I think it's I'm coming back this I know most of the people on the pod are Niner fans. I'm a Raiders fan, tragically. And for me, I remember when we drafted Derek Carr, we were we got someone. And I think there's a little bit of that energy of we have something here with Kuminga. And there is an excitement from the fan base. And I think even from the team of and I'm not saying I think Kuminga can be better than Derek Carr. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that energy of we hit on something, because it's been quite a long time since we've hit on something. And that can be really dangerous as a franchise too, to get overly excited about a guy that you hit on and you're just projecting hey, cause as a Raiders fan, it took years for me to finally get off that Carr drug of he'd play 1 or 2 quarters where holy shit, he made this throw that I can't believe he actually pulled off. And then
Marcus Russell couldn't do this. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, right? It's but we're a poverty franchise, so it made sense for us to be so delusional. The Warriors are not a poverty franchise, at least for the last 10 years. And so it's frustrating, because I think you're right. I think it is just very much we're overestimating what he could be one day. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to say real quick, though, Sam.
What's
San
up?
Jose is very much the Bay Area. I'm from San Jose originally. I feel like you Davis guys, UC Davis guys, love to hate between you and like Hassan Minaj, who's always shitting on my alma mater, UC Santa Cruz. Like you guys love the bust shots.
To be
That's
clear,
incredible.
I recognize San Jose is part of the Bay Area, but growing up in the East Bay and going to Davis, I do love to rib the South Bay and be like, come on, guys. You guys are like 2 hours away. It doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Everybody does. I can't tell you how many times I had like a girlfriend who lived in Oakland or San Francisco who made it seem like I literally grew up in the boonies. And I'm like, I grew up 40 minutes from here. It's not that far away. Anyways, have a good night, guys.
Have a great one, man.
That's funny.
That Derek Carr analogy is going to be stuck in my head for a very long time.
It's really good. It's kind of where I think that because I'm still pretty high on Kuminga, but I also don't. Somebody put Jaylen Brown, or a couple people put Jaylen Brown as his ceiling,
which is one I've thrown out for a while, by the way. Yeah,
and that's and I don't even necessarily disagree with that. Jaylen Brown over the last 5 years is 24, 6 and 3, shooting 36% from 3 on 7 threes a game. Like, man, that would be awesome. But are we looking at that what next year after? If he gets there 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you're going to build another contender around Steph, I don't think it can be with Jonathan Kuminga in the building.
Or
is the conundrum that I keep coming to, because it's their most valuable trade piece.
You're saying they're not going to be able to acquire the talent necessary to be a contender without giving him up.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
We can hope, but I think you're probably right. It feels you can get really lucky if you could pull a trade off without that happening.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted. If that move is out there where somebody's like, we love Moses Moody and
they get Nas Reed, though.
Well, okay, look, now how far is Nas Reed behind LeBron in all-time points?
And how many games against the Warriors they're tied.
Left?
Yeah. God, Nas Reed another 20. Honestly,
ungoddamn believable.
Nas Reed was not on Prize Picks board today. I see what they were doing there because it's easy money. It was easy money. Everyone's going to take the over. They could have set the over at whatever. We would have taken it and doubled down on it,
Yeah. Nas Reed, the Bones Highland of Karl Anthony Towns.
Right. I want to do a couple. There's a couple interesting Draymond and Steph quotes, and then we'll get out of here on that. Too good.
Not Bones Highland. Hey, who is the guy on the Nuggets who always used to kill the Warriors? Will Barton.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Cool beanie.
How demoralizing is it considering stakes, situation, standings, all that you guys?
It sucks. When you have to win, it sucks.
How are you kind of balancing that you need to win and also have to build these good habits so that if we do make it in the plan and beyond, we can make a run?
But in order to win, you have to build good habits. So I don't think we have great habits. Until you play with great habits at all times, you lose.
The position you're in now, just in the standings, game
of the games that we should win. So in this league, you have to win the games you're supposed to win and still a few that you're not supposed to win. But if you lose the ones you're supposed to win, you're going to go a long way.
I feel like you should have won tonight.
For sure.
What do you think didn't allow you to?
A lot of things. We have too many breakdowns.
Yeah.
You just can't win having breakdowns. You have breakdowns. It changes momentum. And momentum in this league is not hard to. It's not easy to get back. So they're an NBA team too. And by the standards, they're much better NBA team than us. So if you can't not have breakdowns, you're you're going to lose. And if you play against a team that is technically better than you and you have breakdowns, you're always going to lose. And that's why we lose a lot right now.
It seemed like in the second half it was mostly like half court, like pick and roll or switch type breakdowns.
Yeah,
Is that
we're a very quiet team, so you have communication. You have issues on defense when you have bad communication.
how much are you now kind of tracking the?
Oh, he wants to kill everyone. This is an angry Draymond right here. No communication, breakdowns, momentum. I mean, how many times have we talked about this?
I'm sorry, I missed. I had something messed up on playback. Say that again.
No problem. Draymond's talking about how they're quiet and they don't communicate. I've heard them say that a million times.
Yeah,
we're game 70, right? Like it's, you know what? Kuminga and Wiggins are probably not going to turn into Iguodala on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Nope. And that's just kind of where we're at with this team, right? Like he's frustrated. He looks like he wants to punch a wall or Slater or someone, so that's where we're at.
The beanie, real quick, for people listening on the podcast, he's wearing the Draymond Green Show beanie, which is just incredible shit. Yeah, man, I get it's probably frustrating, but like this is where they're at. This is the team. This is what it is. Draymond said it himself. I think he was talking about James Wiseman when he said this, but he was talking about how it's way easier to get a player to tone down their energy than to ramp up a player.
Yeah.
And it feels like they just got a lot of dudes that aren't that super high energy. Like there's nobody on this team. They have to calm down. They have to say, "Hey, chill, take a second."
And this is
this is what they are. They're just not quite there.
And to clarify, this is why they love Pajemski. People think
Yes.
Steve Kerr. It's Draymond and Steph.
Yes.
He's the closest thing they have to an Iguodala, a Livingston, just one of those guys who plays connected basketball, calls everything out, is smart. He just happens to be 20, or I guess he's 21 now, as of a month ago. And, 6'4", plays his heart out, but he is 6'4". So, I don't know. That's where we're at with this team. I thought that was interesting. I think we could probably just end on that. Kyle, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, dude. Literally anytime.
All right, everyone. We're going to call it a night. Go enjoy your families.